the biggest change is really watching you step into and realize your potential.
To introduce Hank Fieger. Hank is a very senior, very experienced facilitator, trainer, coach, author. And our relationship goes back about 20 years when, after my cancer, I moved to Hong Kong. And that's when we first interacted. But more than that, I consider Hank to be my coaching guru. And I have probably learned more from him in the field of coaching and training that I consider myself his apprentice. So therefore, it's really wonderful to have this conversation on the milestone of my 60th birthday with you, Hank. So thank you for joining.
It's a pleasure. I'm glad I was able to. One thing came to mind was when you and your organization had reached out to me originally, before we had met, and asked me if I'd be interested in training a group of your internal folks in coaching.
Yes.
And I had never done that before. So I was just busy coaching executives. And I was told that I was on a short list. And then when it was offered to me, it was either you or one of your staff had asked me, well, aren't you interested in why we chose you? I never thought to ask that question. And I said, yeah, sure. And what was said to me was, we've contacted some very renowned coaching firms, but you're the only one who actually coaches. And I thought, wow, that in itself was kind of profound. And I didn't realize, of course, at that time that you and I would have then begun to develop such a profound relationship over the last 20 years. And I remember coming, I think it was in China, we actually did that first session, and
yes.
And meeting you, and then you had created more of a tour for me to go to some of your other offices to do it. But so that was really a memorable moment for me in terms of my career and then my relationship with you. The second really is, it's less of a moment than an impression. And my impression very early on, but then it continued to develop, was how much you care about helping others. And to me, that's something that, it's not trainable. You don't give that to somebody. I mean, that's something that is so innate in you as a human being. But, and it's led you, of course, to where you are today in taking on, a huge endeavor, such as helping people with cancer and their caregivers and everybody involved. So those are the two things really that I would say struck me.
Wow, thank you so much, Hank. The memory that I want to share is on one of your trips to India, to Bangalore. I think you were either staying with us or you had come over for a meal or something like that. And maybe this was about 3 or 4 years after we had started working together for IBM and then for Bank of America and so on, where we introduced the idea of presence-based leadership.
Yeah.
And so we were sitting in our garden in Bangalore, and that's when I, for the first time, articulated the concept of cancer coaching. To say that, what if I were to bring together my 10 years of cancer experience and my 10 years of coaching experience and put them together into something called cancer coaching. And you, in your characteristic way, paraphrased me and then asked me some really good questions and then got me to see it from different perspectives. And really, that conversation was, in a way, one of the first dominoes to fall, which led to so many other things happening and which has brought me to where I am today in, with this purpose of helping people thrive through cancer. And I think you exemplified what great coaches do in that moment. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for that.
Kind of building on first seeing you in the role of an executive as a client of mine, where you were running, training and learning and development for Ogilvy, and then me then reaching out to you to say, why don't you do some work with me once you left that role in IBM in India, and with my presentation skills training, and then the opportunity, as you mentioned, to do some executive presence training for their high potentials. And watching you step into that role and seeing some of your, I wouldn't say reticence, but it was, you would always look to me in terms of taking that lead, and I was happy to do that. And then watching you grow in that role over those opportunities that we did with training and coaching them, and then the connection to Ericsson, and then Bank of America, as you say. So watching you start to step into your own presence, I think, was the biggest change that I've seen. And even lately, getting a chance to see some clips of yours, whether it be on WhatsApp that you've sent out in your role of as a cancer coach, just kind of watching you step into your potential. The blessing would be to really continue to come from your heart. You have such a strong intellect and such a strong, you're a strong 5,
yes,
in the Enneagram, and more analytical in terms of that style. Because the blessing that kind of comes to mind is, may you live as long as you love, and love as long as you live. And I can relate to that strong, logical sense because I have it as well. But I know the work for me at this point, as I'm approaching 75,
and
now as you're approaching 60, is really to lead with our heart. And just trust that the analytical part of us, the logical part of us, is just fine. It doesn't need our help, but to just stay in our heart. And I think that's really my blessing for you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Hank. That means a lot to me.
I hope that our connection and our relationship continues on as long as we both have the opportunity to be alive and well. So really, that's my blessing to both of us.